Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bessemer Lake Erie and HO scale. I'm Ray Brown. Today is June the 1st, 2025. And let's talk about what I've been up to. For starters, a lot been keeping me away from the layout lately. Had a few disasters at work that demanded a lot of overtime. Then the beginning of our marching band season starting to ramp up, and we are working on creating our own show this year, which takes a lot of extra time from the staff. And then ramp up for our Memorial Day parade, which went very well. Very proud of the kids. They're doing a great job. And then I was quite ill for about the last week. I haven't done anything really on the layout. Today's probably about the first day I've really had my voice back, and even then I suspect I sound a little bit off. But anyway, enough of all that. Last time we talked, I was getting started on the Allegheny River Bridge. This is a huge project. There's a lot. This is a lot of work. So the Allegheny River Bridge, you can see a picture of it there, is made up of 7 spans. And what I mean by span is the space in between, these stone supports. So, got one little straight span there, and then a tapered span, straight span, another tapered span. So that's what I mean by spans. So I started working this backwards from how I've seen them numbered. So this would be span 7, and then span 6 would be the big span, and then span 5 there in the brown, and starting span 4. Set a locomotive on here so you can kind of get a sense of scale. So 7 spans, I'm just starting span 4 there, which is the middle span, so this is less than half the bridge. It is going to be an absolute monster. That being said, I had to compress this a lot. If I would have actually built it at scale, it'd be more than twice as big as I'm building it. So there's some things about it that don't seem quite right. Like this should be deeper compared to the engine than it is. You can probably see that, in the picture there. These are the compromises we make. I wrestled a lot with how I wanted to build this bridge and try to convey the pure scale of it. And this was the decision I decided to make, that I would model all 7 spans and then compress it into the space I had to work with, and I think it's still going to definitely have the look and feel of the prototype. And along with that, one of the things, if you study this picture, all these cross bracings and beams, they're different weights, and they seem a little haphazard, honestly, of, what direction they're going and what position they're in. And I did have some nice side pictures, so I could at least copy that pattern and, try to get some of those seemingly random heavier beams in. You can kind of see all that there. Now this one down here, being the brown, that is automotive sandable primer. I like that because that is designed to kind of fill in low spots, and I find that it kind of really helps hide the print lines really well. Let me walk through a little bit about how I've been doing this, because it's quite an operation. Although I will say this, I'm kind of on a roll now that I've kind of got it figured out and I kind of know what I'm doing. So let's take a look. So here is the first piece of span 4, and span 3 are copies of each other. So Once I build span 4, I just got to print 3 more pieces, and then I can have both those spans done, and I'll just have span 1 and 2 to build, and then I can get busy on piers. But I have a pretty big printer. I have a Anycubic Mono 7 Max. That is a fairly large DLP machine. There's probably, a couple out there that are maybe a little bit bigger, but not much. Nothing that would print these pieces in one piece. There's some extreme stereolithography machines out there that could do it, but boy, I don't even want to know what that would cost me. So, what I have to do is, or the way I'm doing it, probably not the way I have to do it, but I design one section in CAD, and then once I have one section designed, then I split it into printable sizes. Like this is 1/3 of span 4. And I add some features to help line up. You can kind of see these cones here. Don't mind the pain on my hand. And then I can kind of glue them together, and if I get any, gaps or little imperfections where they line up, I just sort of paint in some of the resin. I have a little 405 nanometer flashlight back there. And I can kind of paint the resin in the gaps and then cure it with the flashlight and sand it down smooth. And that's turning out to be very effective. So, like I said, this is less than half. Absolutely monster bridge. So looking at one section here a little bit closer, kind of see some of the compromises I made. You can see I kind of have some of this hollow lattice girder work, and then some solid beams, and then some gusset joints, some I-beams, and I started a lot fancier. I had rivet detail. Some of the beams in here were more like the open lattice work, like is actually on the prototype. And what I found was I could print all that really fine detail, but getting it out of the supports was a real challenge. These are actually really hard shapes to print because there are braces going in every direction, so almost no matter what way you turn it, there's something that is not in a good plane for printing. You think about printing a lot differently than you think about machining. If you're machining something, you just set it flat, and that's how you want it, and that's kind of the last way you want it in printing. We'll look at that here in a second. But anyway, what I found, I had to get away from some of that detail for reliable printing, and for as much as I have to print here, I need to have reliable prints. And then the other thing I found was, how much I could get into with detail before my computer just started choking. And I've got a very serious engineering workstation over there, but you can bog down anything when you start arraying, tens of thousands of rivets and all kinds of like all this little lattice work is actually pretty taxing as it is, but I think that was worth it. This color is the color I want to go with. That's pretty close to the color the bridge is today. It was not this color in the 50s. I'm not really sure what color it was in the 50s. I found some pictures probably from the 1960s maybe of the bridge being silver. It's built out of Corten steel, which makes me think originally it probably wasn't painted at all and probably looked a lot more like that. But I decided that green is what everybody knows it as today, and that was a good color that looks good on the model. So that's what color we're going with. So here's the last section I pulled off the printer. Let's go take a look at what that looks like. And of course, you can see here the whole span. it's got to get taken up by that bridge. So, all right. So here's this span 4. Like I said, and span 3 is the same. So here's span 4 in SolidWorks. You know, and part of this consideration is how long does it take me to draw the dang thing? So it's a pretty good representation. I took some inspiration from the old Plastruck kits. You know, just what do they look like? And I try to strike a balance between, you know, prototypically right sizes and things that were actually sturdy and plastic in HO scale. And I think I'm happy with the compromises I've made there. But right there you can see, you know, one section drawn, and this is about 22 inches. Okay, so once I have that, I gotta come in here and start splitting this model up. And I've done that here, so now you can see, you know, just one piece of it cut off. And once I have a piece of it cut off, I can save this as my .stl. And then load that into the print software, get it orientated in the printer the way I want it, and this is how I've been printing them. And it took me a while to figure out this is where they wanted to sit. You know, kind of with the deck kicked that way. This is how I'm getting the squarest ends I managed to get. Any other way I printed them, kind of picture this almost being like a smile. I was getting these rounded off ends, and I could fill it in, but it was really quite annoying. These are coming out not perfect, but pretty dang close to perfect. And I did find that having this base underneath was really helping with this large open structure. It's a little wasted resin, but again, I need these to print reliably. I've got so much to do. So print like this takes about 8 or 9 hours. So about a weekend of printing to print a span, and that's if it all goes well. I had a myriad of things go wrong right before I got sick. Broke a DLP film and had resin run out all over the bottom of the printer. I never had that happen before. It's kind of wild. But apologies. Hold on. Sorry about that. Like I said, really quite the illness. If I go back over here, let me see if I can turn. Yeah. You can kind of see, this is the sketch I made of the whole bridge with all the, showing all the positions of the beams. So what I do is I kind of fire that up and then start building the solid model on top of it. So I know I've got all the beams going in the right direction at least, even if they aren't completely right. So get this section built, then the next section's a copy, one more tapered section, one more small straight section, and then yeah, hopefully pures won't be too bad to do, and we can actually start building the scene, which will be a long time coming. Okay, so what else have I been working on? I think I mentioned in my last video when we were down in Allentown, seeing a bunch of the guys down there having some really sweet signage. So I picked up this project, Trolleys. It's a plastic material. This is like what people's name tags would be on outside, you know, offices or rooms in a hospital or something. And sat and played with it with my laser and came up with something like this. So you buy this by what color, you know, the main background is, and then what color's underneath it. So I got orange sheet with white underneath it, and basically the laser just burns off the orange coating to expose the white underneath. And I had a hard time picturing how that was going to work, because I thought for sure it would char it or something, but it doesn't. And then you can just cut out the shape, so you make these really sweet badges, and I can make them fast. So no problem making signage for the whole layout. I'm just kind of experimenting right now of, you know, how I might label buttons or whatnot, or where roads pass through. And I did go ahead and remake, because I still have the file for these control panels. So that's that same laser board, and very readable. And with the orange and white on the black background that I'm going to make the fascia, I just think that looks very Bessemer, and I like it. So really, really happy with that and how that's turned out. You can see my print set up there. It's very messy. That's why I have the board down there, so I can kind of keep the mess on the board. All right. And let's take a quick look at one other thing. And that was, well, two other things, I guess. One, I did a sweet deal. I think a lot of you have heard me complain about the state of that ship and how much I hated it. So I bought this one. And the guy was super nice. He even threw this tugboat in. Did a beautiful job on it. So really happy to have that in the scene here. I just got to get the Hewlett's moved back in. But man, that's going to look great once I get the water in and the docks and all that. But continued track work here at Conneaut. You can see I got this track in. I got this runaround in. I got the whole back ladder in. I don't have anything in there controlling the switch points yet, but I will. And got a lot of the flex laid on this end. So to finish up all of Conneaut track work, I got to get a switch in here, and probably a switch or two in for engine servicing. And I got to get one switch down there. So really like 3 or 4 more switches to build. And I'll have my engine terminal in, coal unloading, probably a spot for a scale track. And Conneaut track work is done. Which brings me to a kind of an unbelievable thing to say. I'm not close by any means, but I have a line of sight to having track work on this level kind of complete. I still have the huge task of finishing the North Bessemer end. But yeah, I've just been building a switch here and switch there when I need to step away from the bridge, and that's really been getting me a long way. But I have that end to build. I have the Albion yard to build, which is honestly the big job, probably. But then beyond that, you know, North Bessemer, Albion yard, and then it's just this area. It's Allegheny Industrial District and the CNH interchange. And track work for the lower levels kind of done. And honestly, there's going to be a lot to the Erie 12th Street seam, but because I'm using all that old Atlas track from Austin's layout, it won't take me long to do it, kind of like it didn't take me long to do Wallace. So I'm hoping, you know, I don't know, maybe by the end of the year. We're getting close to the track work on the lower level and the main level are getting close to done, and just, you know, the only track work left is on the upper deck, and that would start to feel kind of incredible. I mean, I know I'm years into this now, but hand laying all the switches and everything else I'm building, it's a lot of work. And if I could start getting to where track work's done, we could start swinging our focus more to scenery, and that would just be awesome. And last little bit of update here. I know it's been a while. Did get some new cars on the layout. Picked up these Jennies, the Walthers ones. I didn't really do much of these other than throw the KDs in them and paint the wheels and trucks. And some Accurail Gons. Couple hoppers I picked up. And I think that's about it. Anyway, oh, there was one other thing. I did pick up a sandblaster. As I'm doing more of the 210-4 rebuilds, I'm working on the third one now. I wanted to strip off the paint I had done on those years ago and kind of repaint them in the current standard I'm doing, because I really liked how they turned out. So here's one I blasted, and turned out, I think, really, really good. I'm using crushed walnut shell as a blasting medium, and it's something we used on molds that had a really high surface finish on them. We didn't want to hurt the finish. So I thought, why not? I'll try it on the brass, and it worked great. So, recommend that. We'll get this third 210-4 rolling here eventually. It's kind of lower on the list now, just between the bridge and the track and everything else. I'm just kind of piddling with it here and there as I feel like doing something else. Anyway, that's pretty much enough for an update for this time around. And we'll keep working on the bridge here and plowing the way forward and making little laser tags. You know what I mean. Alright. Hope everybody's enjoying themselves out there. And we'll see you here next time here on the HO Scale, Bessemer Lake Erie.